In a quaint village, a woman's quest for passion unveils a labyrinth of love, betrayal, and the unexpected. Join us as we unravel the layers of Ella's journey through a game of life and hearts. A beautiful and wealthy woman named Ella formerly lived in a tiny village. She had everything she desired, including a terrific job, a beautiful home, and a loving family. However, one aspect of her life lacked excitement. One day, while browsing a local magazine, she came across an advertisement for the unexpected twist, a mysterious event. She was intrigued and decided to attend the event in the hopes of adding some spice to her life. As she entered the premises, a charismatic host greeted her and offered her a ticket with a number on it. Ella realized the event was a game show in which participants would be partnered with someone they had never met before. The goal of the game was to answer a series of puzzles and riddles together, with the winning team receiving a big prize. Ella was surprised to be paired with Liam, an attractive and pleasant man, as they worked together to solve the challenges. They felt themselves attracted to one another, their chemistry was evident, and they couldn't stop laughing and flirting throughout the game. When they finally won the ultimate prize, a lavish trip, they decided to celebrate their win with dinner. They shared stories about their lives and realized they had a lot in common. Ella and Liam became increasingly intimate as the night progressed. They quickly fell in love and became a relationship. Ella's life took an unexpected turn when she learned that Liam was married. She felt heartbroken and betrayed, so she resolved to confront him about his dishonesty. To her surprise, Liam revealed that he had been living a double life for years. He had married for the benefit of his family, but he'd never stopped loving Ella. Ella, feeling uncertain, decided to give Liam the opportunity to prove his love. They agreed to work on their relationship and make it work while dealing with the problems that arose. They discovered strength in each other and grew stronger as a couple. Finally, they were able to overcome the hurdles and create a happy life together. Ella discovered that the most unexpected twists in life may lead to the most beautiful love stories. As she faced the consequences of her desperate acts, she was plagued by lingering doubts. How could she have avoided this scenario? She knew her options were limited, but she couldn't help but wonder if there was anything else she could have done. Convincing an adult to reconsider their behavior proved difficult. There was no forcing them. One could only observe and endure the fallout. This was her current problem. Her loving wife believed that the ordeal would only enhance their love, demonstrating the depth of their affection for one another. However, she saw it as a striking example of her spouse's weakness and selfishness. "I'm just a regular person living an everyday life. I'm not the perfect romantic hero. I have weaknesses like everyone else. I occasionally focus too much on myself, work too hard, and become irritated when I shouldn't. I am simply human. Life can be unpredictable. I've been married to Isabella for 19 years, and we have a lovely relationship. Our connection is strong and we both enjoy spending time together. We make an effort to spend intimate moments whenever possible, despite life's distractions such as football, books, or children demanding our attention. Our partnership is based on trust and understanding, and we always prioritize one another when necessary. We've never turned down the opportunity to demonstrate our love for one another. And we're getting stronger every day." Life was going well, financial conditions were improving. And we had two great kids, Ava and Mia, who were 16 and 14 years old, respectively. Our marriage was robust and our daughters were happy and gorgeous. My wife and I were satisfied, but she proposed that we add some excitement to our lives. I agreed as long as our relationship was strong. We started by experimenting with different bed positions. I was physically fit and thoroughly loved the event. We tried anal a few times before deciding it wasn't for us. Fortunately, we maintained our incredible connection and love for each other. Our relationship is still strong and fulfilling, with no regrets. The next activity was role-playing. I have no idea where that originated from. Perhaps it was from girlfriends, women's magazines, or a television show. It was enjoyable for a while, but eventually became tedious. It was difficult to focus on keeping a character at the moment. I resolved not to do it anymore. She became displeased all of a sudden. "Ethan, how long has it been since you were on a date?" she asked. "One day. Last Friday I went you to the Italian restaurant you had been longing to try." I said. "We also went to the movies, and your mom stayed with the girls overnight, remember?" "I don't mean with me," she stated. "How long has it been since you've gone out with someone else?" "Jesus, Isabella. Are you accusing me of anything?" I asked. No, sweetheart, that is not what I mean. I am just interested whether you remember the name of the last female you went out before. Us. Yes, I do. Her name was Sophia, and we had met approximately 2 weeks before. I believe you may also remember her. We had a really heated conversation about that date. Do you ever miss it? She asked. God, no, I laughed. I recall how nerve-wracking it was. Not on that date. It was fairly good. But the entire dating thing, getting up the confidence to ask a girl out and worrying about being rejected. Awkward first conversations. It was quite an experience. Wasn't it fascinating and mysterious? She asked. More likely. Absolutely terrifying, I said. What prompted you to think of this, Isabella? I was wondering whether you've ever wanted to go out with someone else. She said, no, I have never felt like that. I told her that you were upset when I went out with Sophia and wanted us to be exclusive. So I determined that was what I wanted. If I felt differently, I would not have asked you to marry me. Marriage is defined as a commitment to one person. She let it go, and for a month I didn't hear any more of her teasing remarks. It was a Friday night, and after having an intimate moment, we felt closer. Our connection was genuine, without any pretension or gimmicks. We simply enjoyed each other's company and had a deep, passionate connection as we lay there relishing in the afterglow. Her words disrupted the peaceful environment. We've been friends with Olivia for a long time. She works beside Isabella and introduced us to another co-worker, Emma. We all went out for supper and then to a nightclub. Olivia is a lovely and attractive woman around 5 years younger than us. I told Olivia at the club that all I wanted to do was dance with her, and she said yes. I would not feel jealous if you asked her. I replied, that's nice, but I have no intention of asking her. Olivia then inquired, would you be jealous if I danced with another man? I suppose your brother will be all right, I commented. It was a playful remark. Yet she did not grin. I've always been uninterested in you dancing with people who were courteous and kept their hands in check. Was there anyone you wanted to dance with? I do not recall anyone asking me. No, I was just curious, she responded. I had no idea where this was going, and I felt uncomfortable with it. I was unable to relax and decided to leave the bedroom. I went to the den and began playing a video game. I observed her standing at the door, looking at me for a moment. I avoided eye contact, and she went back to bed. I waited until she was completely asleep before joining her for a recent celebration. The atmosphere was brimming with delight and excitement. The White Rhino venue was brimming with energy as a vibrant band performed. We sat at a large circular booth, conversing and enjoying the night while the music played. Isabella turned to me and said, Alexander, I want to dance. Would you mind joining her on the dance floor? I spoke with someone 2 months ago. Now we were at a party and she wanted to dance with me. I felt embarrassed and didn't want to damage her feelings. But I also didn't want to dance with her. Her figure was beautiful, but I didn't want to pursue that path. Dancing was not my strong point, and she was as elegant as a huge cat. I knew I'd seem awkward, but there was no way out, so I chose to stand up. I believe they're playing our music. I extended my hand to see, and she graciously joined me. Her brown eyes shone with eagerness. The band switched to a soft song and we started dancing, seemed to fit comfortably against me. And we moved in tune with the music. Her wavy hair brushed over my cheeks as she grinned, displaying her pearly teeth. She thanked Ethan for dancing with her. Isabella stated, "You were a good dancer. I haven't danced for a long time." "You're an excellent dancer," I commented. "I do not mind dancing with you. See, you're quite nice and attractive. But we should not dance together. This is not a good idea for me." She laughed lightly. "You are safe with me, Ethan. I like you too. But let's just do this one dance, okay?" I softly squeezed her hand and we completed singing the song together. When we returned to the booth, Isabella was not present. I surveyed the surroundings and spotted her black and white outfit. She was dancing with a young man of Nordic heritage on the dance floor. Isabella was giggling, and the man's hands were lower than I'd imagined. She saw me and waved, smiling and experiencing a range of feelings. I chose to leave. I threw a few toes on the table and began going towards the exit. Scarborough eyed me out of the corner of her eye and eventually ran after me. She caught up with me halfway to the car. "Ethan, stop! Where are you going?" she panted, feeling slightly out of breath. "We were manipulated. I confessed." Isabella feigned to discuss relationships and solicited my feedback, all while surreptitiously testing the waters. "She forced me to dance with you," giving herself an excuse to dance with Romeo. "I am going to leave her now." "What will you do with me?" she inquired. "Will you leave me here?" "I will take you back to your car," I promised. Sorry. See? I wasn't thinking clearly. "It's okay, Ethan," she reassured me. "I despise being controlled just as much as you do. Let's head to your place so I can get my automobile." We were nearly home when my phone rang. I left it unanswered and Cyber gave me a glance. Her phone also buzzed and she answered it. "We are almost at your place," she said. She looked at me and mouthed, "Isabella, no, this was not my idea. I rode with you, remember? My ride was departing and I didn't want to be stranded. Look, Isabella, I'm not in this. Do not put me in this position. We have been pals for a long time, girl, but if you mess with me, you'll regret it." She ended the call. "She wants you to return and retrieve her," Cyber explained. "Well, I'm looking for a wife who doesn't play silly games," I exhaled. "Where does this come from? Do you see Grace?" She answered, "I think it was from work. She's continually discussing her and James's connection. It's interesting to see how their marriage has become stronger as a result of their openness." I didn't think Isabella would believe it, but apparently she did. Grace seemed to be attempting to create a scenario. "Ethan, she is aware of my feelings for you and how drawn I am to you." I could not believe what I had just heard. "Thanks. See, the situation is really unpleasant. I believe you're incredibly gorgeous, but I'm more comfortable with only one person. I'm not great at sharing my belongings. I am sorry she got you involved up in this." "Why should you apologize?" she questioned. "You did not cause any of this. I got to dance with my dream partner and I have no regrets about it. Ethan, can you tell me what occurs next?" I promised her I would and she got into her car and drove off. I entered the house, paused for a second, and then relocated my items from the master bathroom to the guest room. I also moved my work materials into the guest room. I locked the door and fell asleep. Perhaps because of the cocktails I had, I fell asleep soon. I awoke briefly as a door slammed downstairs and footsteps were heard in the corridor. The bedroom doorknob turned several times. There was a knock at the door. "Ethan, what is going on?" Isabella spoke in quiet tones. She didn't want to disturb the females who were sleeping just down the hall. She tapped and whispered for around 10 minutes. I heard her footsteps retreating down the corridor. It had been our bedroom, but now I had no idea what it was. I didn't enjoy the guest bedroom bed. I tried to exit the room silently before she awoke, but it failed. She emerged at the bottom of the stairs as I was packing my briefcase. "What the hell is wrong with you, Ethan?" she demanded, visibly upset. "I believe you should be asking yourself that question," I said. "What is that intended to mean?" she asked. Her voice was slightly elevated. "You abandoned me at the club last night, locked yourself in the spare bedroom, and are now slipping out an hour before work. Do you believe there is something wrong with me?" "Yes, that is exactly what I believe," I responded. I took up my briefcase. "I do not even want to look at you right now. You have no idea how close you are to making me permanently angry with you. Get your things together, make sure everything is in order, and be prepared to discuss this when I get home. I will pick up the kids and drive them to Mom's house. We'll get this sorted." Her face became pallid. I don't comprehend what you're saying. What if I have plans tonight? It is up to you, he responded. If you want to heal what's broken in our home, you'll be prepared and avoid unneeded conversation. If you're satisfied with the way things are, do whatever you want. One more thing, please relocate your items into the guest room. I prefer my bed. You are not welcome to share it with me. She grew angry, but I ignored her. I left her and went to work. I picked up the girls from school, and they excitedly headed to Grandma's for the night. I informed Mom that Isabella and I were having problems and needed some time alone. She embraced me and showed her affection without hesitation. Isabella greeted me as I arrived home. She had baked cookies and prepared a cup of coffee for me. After a long hug and a kiss on the cheek, she sat next to me on the couch. I ate a fantastic oatmeal cookie with chocolate chips, and almonds are delicious, I said. She grinned, and we seemed to be off to a great start. I dislike breaking the ice, but I had to. Isabella, you did a terrible thing last night, I said. It's bad enough that you did that to me, but you also involved C2. This was embarrassing for both of us. It was disrespectful to both me and the kind of girl who was supposed to be your friend. She paused, looked down. I apologize, Ethan, she admitted. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I've been trying to talk to you, but you've shut me down. I considered the possibility. Perhaps this will allow you to see some possibilities. Possibilities for what? I inquired. What exactly are you doing and thinking, Isabella? Please ask me. Tell me whatever. You're playing games, which frustrates me. She paused for a moment before speaking up. I was wondering if we should explore dating other individuals, I responded. There's a minor issue with that. There are various concerns. First, we are both married, she countered. Other married couples do it. Marriage isn't what it used to be. Many people have open marriages, and their feelings for each other only grow stronger. It simply strengthens their love, I inquired. How do you know this? She replied. Everyone knows that the girls at work discuss it all the time. I said, are these girls married? She confirmed, yes. That is how I know. Grace and James, for example, have an open marriage. And their relationship is better than ever. How do you know? I asked her. She told me. She answered. That surely means it's true. How do you know she is not lying? I've got an idea, I told her. Let us look it up. Google understands everything. Let us have a peek at these lovely open marriages. She seemed surprised, but she came and sat alongside me as I turned on my laptop. I opened the browser and put in how many people have open marriages. I had no idea what we were going to find, but I needed to know right now. I clicked the first link. According to the report, fewer than 1% of Americans are in open marriages. We examined numerous different links and got the same result. Less than 1%. She seemed to have different expectations. That's still a lot of people, she said. At least 3 million, I believe. That's not correct, I responded. Few children are likely to be raised in open marriages. Let us try something else, I offered. I typed, what percentage of Americans expect their relationships to be loyal? We clicked the link and saw it was more than 95%. So what do you believe this means? I inquired. I guess most people aren't very open-minded. She said. I expected there to be more people living different lifestyles. I hear about it all the time. I'm wondering how many open marriages end in divorce. Do you want to know? I asked. She didn't appear eager, but I was, and I wanted her to be aware. I typed, how often do open marriages end in divorce in a small town? A pair. Isabella and her husband were exploring the prospect of having an open marriage. Isabella's husband, anxious about the future of their relationship, mentioned some statistics. He explained that 92% of open marriages result in divorce. Within 5 years, just 10,000 out of 1 million people will be in open marriages, with only 800 of those not ending in divorce. Isabella's husband encouraged her to assess the likelihood of their marriage being one of the successful ones. Isabella admitted that her odds were slim. Success occurs only when both parties agree. I explained to her that in all circumstances where one individual is pushed to fail, the outcome is always the same. Our position would be no different because I will not participate willingly. Consider the negative emotions that would emerge: resentment, competitiveness, jealousy, insecurity, and betrayal. And there's a lack of security. I would only contemplate it if I was desperate to keep you, but I am not. Other folks think me appealing. If I were perceived as a hopeless recluse or a perverted individual who enjoys seeing my wife interact with others, I could be interested. But I am not that person, Isabella. She said, I would rather you shoot me in the head than break my heart. I don't think you should believe everything you see on the internet, she answered hesitantly. No, you're probably correct. I said, I believe a significant portion of it is probably false. Particularly the section regarding things are different now. Many people have open marriages. This is the portion you should not believe. Do you think you can believe everything that Flirt Grace says? How many times is she divorced? What about her husband? How many times has he gotten divorced? She paused. I'm not sure about him, she said. So what about her? I asked. For times. She spoke quietly. So you're seeking marriage advice from a 4-time loser? I asked incredulously. It isn't like that, she insisted. They have a strong relationship. I'm not sure what happened before. Perhaps she married the wrong person. Or perhaps she is not the ideal mate. I replied, upset. I asked, how about this? She said, Grace is always talking about it. I discovered that Grace and James do not communicate effectively and prefer to spend their time with their buddies. Isabella, how do you think this is going to end? What are you aiming to accomplish? So hasn't our relationship been a little dull lately? She questioned. No, I do not, I responded. I've been completely content. How many times have you tried? The last activity, approximately half a dozen. It's funny that you wish to play harmless games. Wait a minute. Where were Grace's ideas, too? I could see from her expression that they were. Jesus Christ! I cried. They were her idea. This is completely unbelievable. We have a very strong marriage, she insisted. This might be both exciting and beneficial for us. We could come home and share our experiences, which would be fantastic. Do you have dreams about me with someone else and then coming home? Well, you know. She paused, then said, many people have that fantasy. Fantasy is one of the top 10 most prevalent fantasies. I inquired, my voice rising. This seems more like a nightmare. How do you know that so many people have this fantasy? Are you recommending we look for it online? I'm not sure. Who would be interested in this, but even thinking about it makes my skin crawl. If you ever do something like that, we're done. Isabella, she seemed taken surprised. What do you mean by done? Are you saying you'll end our marriage? Is this all our relationship means to you? I assumed you loved me more than that. I assumed our marriage was strong and you were open to new experiences. Yeah, I thought our marriage was strong, too, I responded. Apparently, it isn't as powerful as I expected. The fact that you're even contemplating this suggests that our marriage isn't important to you. What are you going to tell the girls? Is Mom and Dad splitting up? Will you explain the reasoning behind it? We're not breaking up, she said. If we were, it would be because their father and I had conflicting priorities. Guess again, I said. What they would be told is that their parents have different perspectives on what is essential. We were both upset, and she made her point obvious. I want this, Ethan. It will happen whether you agree with it or not. You can either Join me on this journey or stay behind and figure things out for yourself. You are mistaken, Isabella, I said. Our relationship does not have a future. If you decide to be intimate with someone else, our marriage will end. I'll consult with a lawyer and get a divorce as quickly as feasible. Alternatively, you may go to a therapist and then a marriage counselor to try to save our relationship. I will attend counseling, but I doubt it will help. This is a serious error, Isabella. I believe this would occur when you began to generate unorthodox ideas. Grace appears to have persuaded you, and you have agreed with her point of view. You believe that positive outcomes will occur. However, the truth is that your actions will inflict misery for everyone you profess to care about, including the girls, myself, and yourself. Trust me. I won't be idle. What are you planning to do about it? She was teasing. You can't control me anymore. You do not own me, and I can make my own decisions. You will not end our relationship. We have too much to lose. We will work through our challenges and progress together. Think about it, Ethan. Do not act rashly. I care about you. I am always here for you. This may be an opportunity for us to strengthen our friendship. Will overcome hardships together and emerge stronger. I will be supportive and understanding. Come on, lover, let's give it a shot. If things don't work out, we will talk about it and come up with a solution. That will be the end of it. She approached me and attempted to hug and kiss me. I stopped her, standing up, and said, I need some time to think. I'll let you know my decision later. I knew I didn't have to think. I simply needed to prepare. Her points concerning divorce were probably correct, as the process is profoundly flawed. I decided to take action and went inside the main bedroom, locking the door behind me. After a half hour on the computer and 10 minutes on the phone, I created a strategy to gain custody of the children. Georgia law states that children above the age of 14 have the right to choose who they live with, and we were in Atlanta. I was convinced that MIA would decide to stay with me because she had always been Daddy's princess. Ava, on the other hand, had mixed emotions, but she cared about me. I doubt she wanted to be separated from her sister. I hoped that if I could inform the girls of their mother's ambitions and use them as leverage to advocate for an open marriage, they would be uninterested in her ideas. Yes, it was skeptical, and I loathed every notion that entered my thoughts. But I wasn't the one who changed the rules. That is what it ultimately came down to. Would I have married Isabella if she had approached me before our wedding, expressing her intention for us to be faithful to each other for 19 years before exploring other options? Highly unlikely. I would have fled the situation quicker than a cat with a burning tail. She knew it and would have done the same thing. She now wants to amend the rules and force me to comply with them. She was threatening me with what would happen if I didn't comply. If she had come to me and told me she wanted to make changes and get a divorce, I would have been devastated. But I would have done the right thing. We'd have divided everything up, reached a custody agreement, and that would have been the end of it. Not after the ultimatum. The conversation occurred 2 nights later. Isabella didn't realize the females were listening. From the stairwell, she began by apologizing. I was not buying it. So you decided to visit a therapist and begin marriage counseling? I asked. There's nothing wrong with me, she snapped. You are the one with the problem. So I began. I've always thought about how wonderful our love is. I understood that cheating would only cause us misery and hurt. So I decided to stay faithful and true to you. And I think that's what love is all about. I shared a strategy with her. I meant to stay faithful. I approached each circumstance with the intention of not giving in. I believe marriage is about planning for a healthy relationship, remaining loyal, and not being unfaithful. If you do not plan for it to work, you are planning for it to fail. Isn't this how it goes? You intend to break the vows you made to your husband, children, faith, and everyone else. How do you think the children will react to that? She muttered aggressively. You won't reveal anything. The mother always receives custody of the children. I'll take them from you, and you won't see them again. I'll make sure that something comes up throughout each of your visits. You best not say anything to them. She stared at me before departing. I heard small gasps from the stairs, followed by a muffled sob. Isabella's commotion made it difficult to hear anything else. When I got to the stairs, the females were vanished. I proceeded to the address room, which was empty. Walking down the hall to Ava's room, I heard quiet voices within. I knocked, and Ava inquired what I wanted. "Can I come inside?" I asked. "Come inside, Dad," she responded. We thought it might be Mom. They both had teary eyes. I sat down and hugged them both. "I am sorry you had to find out this way," I said. "I didn't think you'd believe me without hearing it firsthand." Ava responded, "It's okay, Dad. It is not your fault. We simply didn't comprehend earlier. We now know the truth." "How could she do this to you and me?" I exhaled. "I do not know, sweetie. She isn't thinking clearly. She has been impacted by someone at work." I attempted to persuade her to change her decision, but she is adamant. "Do you believe she's feeling bad?" MIA inquired. I said, "I can't figure out what makes her happy anymore." I attempted to get her to see a counselor. I even recommended couples therapy. She's simply not interested. "What do we do?" she asked. "For the time being, we'll do nothing." I stated that if she senses we've given up, she might start dating again. When she does, she will be prepared. When she returns, she'll be gone. I will try to persuade her not to leave. I doubt she will listen. "Are you two with me, or do you choose to stay with her?" They exchanged looks briefly. "No, Dad. We're staying with you," MIA declared. My heart soared. 19 years full of challenges. But here's why I'd remain resilient as long as I had children. I would not regret a single moment. It took about 2 months. The encounter was unusual and tough. Isabella and I scarcely spoke, behaving more like dissatisfied roommates than a couple. She slept in the guest room while I remained in our former bedroom. I tried to talk about her acts, hoping to demonstrate her mistaken beliefs. We were maintaining the garden one evening when I broached the subject. "Isabella, is this plan working for you? Has our marriage improved? Where is all that enthusiasm you promised? Is this exciting and fulfilling? Was this what you envisioned?" Her eye showed a glimmer of doubt, which was swiftly replaced by rage. "If you hadn't been such a jerk, we wouldn't be in this situation. I don't want my wife to make significant life decisions without me. She insists on doing it, whether I enjoy it or not. I'm the stubborn one here." "Yes, you are," she virtually shrieked. "You won't even consider how beneficial this could be for both of us. It does not have to be this way. Everything would be fine if you just let go of your stubborn thinking." "Who is this perfect for?" I asked. "It definitely isn't me. You definitely don't care about me. I care for you far more than you do for me." She added cruelly. "I care about you enough to give you the freedom you need to explore new possibilities while still keeping you in my heart. I don't perceive it as love." I told her I think it's selfish. I love you enough to respect your sentiments and not push any boundaries. If you actually loved me, you would do this. "When did you stop loving me, Isabella?" I did not. She began crying. "I love you more than ever. That is how I can allow it. My love for you is stronger than you could ever imagine. So, darling, you are bringing me grief. Is that love to you?" I asked. "That is not what I am doing." She was infuriated. "Now, I'm going to the club with William after work on Friday night. Seabright is going with us. Please, Ethan, join us. Give it a shot. I promise you will not be disappointed. It will be the most exciting thing we have ever done." I paused for a second. "Okay. Let's do it." I know you'll do it anyway, so I might as well join in. She quickly rushed across the lawn, putting her arms around me and pressing her body against mine. Ethan, I am very appreciative. I was beginning to lose my sanity. I didn't think you'd consider it. This is not something you will regret, I promise. It will be worth it. Despite my doubts, I couldn't help feeling uneasy. I contemplated reaching out to the water for assistance. As it turned out, she was outraged. She had no idea why Mandy asked her to go clubbing. She had no idea William would be there or that she was being set up with me. That woman, she exclaimed as I told her the news. I'm going to call her, and she will regret it. Ella, do you believe in me? I inquired. What exactly are you talking about? She answered with confusion. I also trusted the woman you were previously married to. Ella, please remain calm. I requested. I need your help. I know you're furious. But I really need your help. This is a critical moment. I am ending the marriage. We will get divorced as soon as feasible. I am ready. But I need your aid. I'll play along. And I need you to play with me. Ella took a big breath on the phone. What do you have in mind? She asked. I will pretend to agree with everything, I explained. I'll invite you to come home with me. All you need to do is seem to desire it. She smiled. I'm certain about this. She responded. We had a wonderful week, but I'm ready for the next adventure. I agreed, understanding her yearning for change as she assisted me in moving my possessions to my new home. We exchanged laughs and recollections. We knew that the end of the week would usher in a new chapter in our life. However, we were excited to confront it together. Ethan, we have already gone through all of that. If you don't like it, we can chat later. But I won't change my opinion. She smiled at me. Yes, Ethan. This past week has been fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I love you. Tonight will be the best yet. You will see. Thank you for sharing this with me. You're going to adore it, Ethan. I know you will. She danced out of the room. She knew I'd enjoy this. Right? I thought. Let's get this day done. Syra arrived to the house on Friday evening, full of confidence and charisma. Isabella, a pretty and tiny girl, greeted her with a kind grin. Syra, on the other hand, made a remarkable impression with her tall size and charming presence. She donned a gorgeous red-sheath dress embellished with sequins, drawing attention to her toned form as they exchanged pleasantries. Their discussion flowed smoothly with a dash of humorous banter. Despite the initial attraction, both women recognized that their encounter served a function other than their personal connection. They were there to conduct business, so any romantic interest would have to wait until another day. That's a shame, she remarked. I'm wearing a comfortable outfit that I believe you'll appreciate. Show me, I urged, carefully raising her dress up her legs to display her fashionable outfit. Stop it, she said frantically. Isabella might walk in. Exactly, I responded. We want her to believe we are playing her game. As her garment was pulled farther, her entire ensemble was visible. She giggled and attempted to push my hands away, but I persisted. Just as I was going to commend her attire, Isabella strolled in. See? Isabella exclaimed. You two are getting an early start. I see. Save it until after we've danced and then book a room. I already have a room, I told her. What about you and Bill? Get the room. She smirked at us. I grabbed her clutch and we were off. Bill met us at the club. The evening began suddenly for him. I shook his hand, and with my strong hold from years of powerlifting, I could see him struggling to release go. I let him regain his composure despite his need to whimper. He kept his macho image. Bill was one of those handsome individuals, and I noticed a pattern. As men became more gorgeous, their chances of becoming a hairdresser or a sign geologist increased substantially. Take Tom Cruise as an example. I couldn't help but think of Bill's past. So, Bill, do you have any experience with hair styling? I inquired. He chuckled. No, I am not a hairdresser. I don't think they are for me. I understand, I answered. Bill grimaced. You know who L is? Ron Hubbard is? He nodded. I have been a Scientologist for 6 years. I casually referred to it as a test. She tried to hide her laughter, but her eyes gave it away. Isabella's face became glowing red with rage. Maybe I shared too much. Let's get a booth, she suggested, leading the way with her stiff posture like a poker bill and closely following. As soon as he got 5 feet away, Ella burst into laughter. I took her arm and we followed her, wiping away tears from her eyes. You're a funny man, Ethan, she exclaimed, struggling for air. Yeah, it's a busy night, I said. Just stay focused, see? Act as if you are enjoying the moment. She did an excellent job, and I was more than halfway enthralled by the time we arrived to the booth. Her remarkable grace as she glided in front of me was captivating. By the time we danced twice, I was fully captivated. She was dancing so passionately that it appeared she was about to lift me off the ground. Meanwhile, Isabella had gone somewhere with Mr. David. Are you prepared for the big show? I asked Olivia. She glanced up at me, her tilted eyes conveying a seriousness that made me know this wasn't just a game to her. Her eyes were big and warm, brown, and I was pulled to them. Her big lips parted slightly, and she lightly licked them. I couldn't resist. It lived up to all of my expectations, and more. Just then, I heard a noise. Isabella and Mr. David returned to their booth. No, I replied in a humorous voice. Look who is back. Olivia and Isabella understood the reference, but Mr. David had no idea. Don't be nasty to him, slugger, she laughed. Isabella's face turned bright red, and she smirked. As usual. She and I are leaving, I informed them. You all had a fantastic time. Isabella? Please accompany us to the door. Are you sure you're okay, Ethan? She inquired. You seemed grumpy earlier. I said, I am not all right. Mandy, there is still time. Let's head home and try to repair things. If you stay, it will be permanent. No, Ethan, she replied. This will be excellent for us. Just go have fun with Natalie. You will see. It will be wonderful. Please try not to be so grumpy. Well, it is not my happiness. Are you focused, Mandy? I countered. We know it's Mr. David's happiness. Good luck with it. We are leaving immediately. She grabbed my arm. Her eyes shone with excitement. This is going to be amazing, Ethan. You will see. Natalie is vital to us. You can tell me everything about it when I come home. Aren't you spending the night with him? I asked. Curiosity is getting the better of me. I expected him to have a productive night, given his talent. Okay, I suppose I might. She paused slightly. I figured I'd go home about midnight. And we'd catch up, strengthening our friendship. Right. I nodded. I forgot. So see you when you get there. If Natalie and I are still working. Try to remain silent, okay? She gave me a look and a smile. I hoped she liked it. This would be the last one. I went outside and got into the car. Natalie was waiting. I assumed you'd be more emotional. About this, she remarked. Well, emotions can only last so long, I responded. I was unhappy for a time, but now I'm simply tired. I want this to end. I've cried a lot. Now it's time to move forward. Let us go pick up the girls. As we arrived, the moving truck was already being loaded. The girls carried their things downstairs and stored them in large plastic tubs. We only took a few things. The master suite bed, the girls' beds, their televisions and electronics, and a newly purchased larger screen. After the girls had done packing, Natalie took them to their new house. It was as far from the previous one as feasible while being in the same school district. The boys completed packing and I took one final glance around. The house was deserted and peaceful, evoking recollections of 19 years past. I sighed, removed my wedding band, and set it on the kitchen table next to my cell phone. The females' phones were already there, so it was time to leave. I felt a flood of melancholy rush over me as I understood the end of an era. I was leaving with a whimper, but it was beyond my control. After a few light-hearted barbs at Isabella and Mr. David, I walked away from 19 years of wonderful memories. I thought life was full of surprises. I closed up, loaded my tools from the garage into the back of my vehicle, and drove away. The girls were pleased about their new home, especially the pool in the backyard. They couldn't wait to take a dip the next day. "You'll enjoy it here, dear?" I asked MIA, smiling. "Wow," she exclaimed. I was unfamiliar with the term, but it appeared positive. Olivia was there, looking lovely as always. Despite my exhaustion, I could not help but smile. Olivia recognized my exhaustion and gave me a warm, inviting grin and a gentle stroke on the face. She vanished, leaving behind the delightful aroma of her perfume. We went to bed and I actually slept, albeit not well. The next morning I made coffee, and the girls joined me later. We ate breakfast with Danish kringle and chocolate milk. They watched cartoons on television until noon, then two active girls in swimsuits played in the pool as I relaxed on a lounger. I was consumed with thoughts of Mandy, presuming she was in distress and contacting everyone I could to find out what had happened. The girls did not attend school throughout their summer break. Their father had sold his business for a large profit. He was not working, so the family went to the grocery shop by walking and taking the bus. The father parked their truck in the garage so it wouldn't be easy to find. He assumed the mother was attempting to locate them, but without a car she would have difficulty. Any attempt to locate them would have to be electronic. The mother bombarded their inboxes with messages, sent Instagram and Twitter messages, and IM'd the girls whenever they went into social media. Despite having read her messages, they did not respond. The father hoped the mother would ultimately find them the hard way, knowing she had expenses to pay and couldn't afford to quit working. We owned a large chunk of our home and I knew my wife would not want to lose it. She appeared to be desperate, and approximately 3 weeks later a private investigator approached me in the grocery store. "Mr. Decker," he inquired. "Who do you want to know?" I replied. "Your wife hired me to find you," he said. "I will tell her where you are. You should call her. If I see you, I will charge you with stalking," I warned. "Leave me alone, dog." I was hesitant to call her. Fortunately, it was unnecessary. When the cops arrived, Mandy claimed that I had kidnapped the girls. They urged me to go to the station to handle the situation. When I refused, they arrested and drove me downtown. The females took a separate automobile, and when we arrived at the station, Isabella was already there. She attempted hugging the girls, but they refused. They shoved her aside and a woman guided them and Isabella into a room. I entered another room for interrogation. The officers probed me mercilessly, but I kept mute and requested an attorney, effectively silencing them. Someone mentioned that he was employing a lawyer. They handed me a phone, and I called Liam Trimble. He arrived with SI in about 45 minutes. Our idea was simple, yet it took 3 hours to finalize. The females asserted that they were with me by choice. There was no kidnapping involved, and they refused to talk to their mother. Liam took care of the remainder. He emphasized the lack of a custody court ruling, indicated that Georgia law considers both parents equally eligible for custody, and stated that children over the age of 14 can select which parent they want to live with. They had no option but to let them go. Seed led them out and Isabella followed, urgently attempting to get the girls to speak to her. They got into Olivia's car and drove away, leaving the two of them alone in the parking lot. Isabella was plainly unhappy, and her eyes welled with tears. She lowered herself to her knees and pleaded with Ethan. "Ethan, please. Talk to me. I need you to listen." Ethan hesitated, remembering their previous arguments. "I remember you not listening when I told you not to do anything with Mr. David." "Why?" "I'm listening to you right now. Please, Ethan, do not push me away. I apologize for. What happened?
Can't we just go somewhere to talk?
I do not want to be seen like this.
Okay, let us chat.
Ethan agreed.
Where do you wish to go?
Home, she asked. Hopefully.
Can we please go home?
I do not want to go anywhere. Everyone can see me like this. We can go to my apartment, I suggested to her. I'm not particularly interested in going to yours. I'm not sure who you've been spending time with there. She sighed and agreed.
All right,
Ethan. Whatever you want, she replied. But this is also your place. I did not want to dispute with her. She urged me to go with her, but I did not want to be stuck in the car with her. I called a taxi, and she followed me home. I knew the girls were with Olivia, and they were spending the night. They'd known her their entire lives, and they were getting quite close. Isabella joined me, and I brought her a cup of coffee. We sat at the bar, and the silence became awkward. Natalialance had not made us uncomfortable since our third date. But it certainly did now.
What do you want, Ethan?
She finally asked.
Did I say I needed something?
I questioned. So what should I do to persuade you to return? She inquired.
How can I pay a visit to the girls?
I can't stop your trips to the girls, I responded. It was their decision. What have you told them? She inquired, accusatory. You must have mentioned something. You've turned them against me. I've read about it. Perhaps Grace informed you of this. I suggested she lower her eyes, confirming Grace's wisdom. What do I do now? She asked again.
You know what's interesting?
I mentioned the children. I haven't heard anything from you on your behavior. I simply told them that I was leaving, and that they needed to decide who they wanted to live with.
Can you guess who informed them?
Isabella. What do you mean? She questioned. I have not said anything.
When might I have said something?
Remember that night in the living room when things heated up? I inquired, noting her recollection of the episode. The children were sitting on the stairs and heard everything. Her face became pale and she began to cry. I did not mean it, she wept. I was just. She struggled to find the appropriate words. Well, the children believe you did, I said. And I think you did too. It appears that the majority has reached its choice. What can I do? She inquired. Her voice filled with desperation. I admitted that I too had made mistakes. I'm not sure what to do with them, I said. You need to correct it. What can I do to make matters right? She inquired. A divorce is not something I want. She proceeded. I just want you to come home. I'm home, I told her. We do not live together anymore. I apologize, Ethan. I should not have pushed you into this. You did not want it, and I should have appreciated it. I do now. Can you not find it in your heart to forgive me? We can see a marriage counselor, and I will do whatever it takes to improve things. I apologize, I said. I understand this is challenging for both of us, but we must find a solution. I took a big breath before proceeding. I realize how upset you are, and so am I. However, we cannot allow our emotions to govern us. I recommend that we strive to resolve matters for the sake of our children. Isabella glanced at me, angry and disbelieving. Do you expect me to trust you after what you've done? You sold the firm, leaving us with nearly nothing. How can I rely on you to be a decent father and partner? I nodded, acknowledging the agony. I understand your worries and am prepared to make adjustments. I will work hard to restore our trust and provide for our family. We can go to counseling jointly to improve our communication and resolve conflicts. Isabella paused, evidently weighing her options. All right, she replied, her voice still unsteady. We will give it a shot. However, if things do not improve, I am prepared to pursue legal action. We both knew the path ahead would be difficult, but we were committed to doing what was best for our children. We left the room. We took the first step together to rebuild our relationship and heal our family. I never touched any of your money, I insisted.
I sold the business quickly, taking only what I earned. I don't have a penny left. This was true. The money was securely stored overseas. I sold the business to a Danish company for less than I owed in taxes, which was a wise decision before the divorce records came out. I also overpaid the IRS, who kept the additional money to meet future expenses. Our brokerage accounts were undisturbed, but I knew I would have to give half away. I established trusts for the girls, securing their futures for 3 months. I went to every grocery store, Walmart, and convenience store in town at each stop. I used my debit card and consented to receive cashback offers $60 and $80 at a time. With 3 persons doing this at each site, they quickly accumulated a considerable sum. The trades were entirely legitimate. I kept the money in an old trunk in a storage building. When the circumstances improved, I'd begin using it. Isabella, you can have the house. I told her that with the equity we'd built up, she could sell it, be free of the debt, and live comfortably for a while. Perhaps after that, you could consider moving in with Mr. David. I am intrigued. How would his wife react to that? She exhaled a startled breath. I didn't realize. He was married, she admitted. No. Didn't you care that he was married? I countered. You desired a flexible relationship. Perhaps he has one. It is time to move on. Isabella, file 4. Divorce. We're finished. I stood and approached the door. She followed behind, her hands twisting them as tears flowed down her cheeks. She paused at the entrance, looking up at me. Please tell the girls that I love them, and I apologize. Will you do this for me, Ethan? Yes, I will tell them, I reassured her. I will not give up, she stated. No divorce for me. I want you back. Ethan. I wish you were more open. But I know it is futile. I never imagined you would be serious about not trying. I thought you would love it. But now I see you are unable to even attempt it. I still love you, and I will keep trying. I was too fatigued to have a fight with her. I watched her exit through the door. I took a moment to regain my calm before calling Olivia. She brought the girls home, but she did not enter the house. Mia and Ava were noticeably disturbed and more frustrated with their mother than they had been previously. I knew they wouldn't be open to Isabella's message, so I waited before presenting it. Isabella arrived 2 days later, about 4:30, with dinner in hand. She had prepared chicken tetrazzini with French-cut green beans and a large basket of garlic bread. Isabella attempted to hug Ava after she answered the door, but was met with a rigid arm. Hello, baby, Isabella welcomed. Dad. Ava called out loudly, you should come out here. Ava's mother hesitated before saying, Ava, I am sorry I have missed you so much. And I love you. Ava was visibly upset. Cut her off. I do not want to hear that, she exclaimed, storming out. Isabella almost dropped the basket of food she was carrying, but I caught it before it fell. Isabella collapsed onto the sofa, face in her hands. What did I do? She cried. They despise me. They refuse to give me a chance. I exhaled. Isabella, what you did was hurtful, and it is understandable. They will not trust you. It is up to you to re-establish those ties, but know that I will not meddle. I made dinner. She looked at me pleadingly. I felt bad for her. She did this to herself, but she was hurting. I've never ignored a stray dog. Let me go talk with them, I said. Find the dishes in the kitchen and see what happens. Thanks, Ethan. I need a tissue, she remarked. I handed her a box and went up to speak with the girls. They were steaming. I can't believe she just showed up here, Mia exclaimed. What were her thoughts? She could feed us and everything would be okay. She wrecked our family. I understand, Kitty. I informed her that the problem had escalated and we now had to face the consequences. She still believes I'm at fault, but I'm okay with it. I will not return to her. I looked at Ava.
I'd feel honored if you both remained with me, but if you want to be with her, I understand. Our love for one another remains intact. Ava responded. I'd rather live a horrible existence than abandon you, Dad. She confirmed their intention to stay with me. I embraced them both. Could we please join your mother for dinner while maintaining a civil tone? I inquired. Ava asked. Would you like us to? Yes, sweetie, I replied. Please convey your feelings without being harsh. Show her your feelings, but do not injure her. Do you think you can handle it? Both agreed that they could. And we had an intense meal. Isabella attempted to engage the females in conversation. But they reacted briefly. Then they cleaned up and packed Isabella's dishes. May I hug you, MIA? She asked. No, it isn't, MIA answered. I will chat to you. But from now on, you are no longer my mother. Seeing Isabella's emotional state, she left 30 minutes later to go home, leaving Isabella feeling sorry. It was not my fault. She began visiting once a week and finally developed a bond with the girls. They would occasionally go out together. She never filed for divorce and attempted to persuade him to return home after 6 months. He had formed a romantic connection and wanted to pursue it freely. Isabella most likely understood their divorce when it was finalized. I had discovered someone amazing and intended to propose to see if she would decline. I'd go to extraordinary measures. What are your opinions about this story? Please let me know in the comments below. Now for the following story, please enjoy. I told my best buddy that I regretted marrying my husband. Now he wants to divorce me. I am in a terrible mess and need help. My husband filed for divorce because he overheard me say I regretted it. I am getting divorced. There is literally fire on the mountain in both my life and marriage. And that's all. Everything happened as a result of one statement. My husband filed for divorce. And I just found out about it. He's overreacting to a single statement I made. I am not sure how he will react when he finds out I cheated on him twice. He is upset that I told someone I regret our marriage. He wants to end our relationship because of that one statement. But only I understand that there is more to everything. My name is Hannah and I am 24 years old. I've been married for a year, and my husband's name is Michael. Michael is 25 years old and works as an accountant. I am a housewife by choice. That is because I do not want to work and am unable to work. That's because I got married right after college and didn't have time to understand what happened, and I am trapped in this marriage. But I still don't want to divorce my spouse. Because I know I'll be unemployed if we don't stay married. I've grown tired of this marriage. For a long time. Michael and I met in college and married shortly afterwards, but now I regret getting married. I wish I had waited longer or even tried to postpone it a little. I was young and innocent, and I assumed I was in love, so I hurried into things. Everything now frustrates me, and I'm done pretending he saw the symptoms, and that's why he waited for confirmation. I gave up trying to be a wife and instead opted to live my life without him. I may have cheated on him once or twice, but I was intoxicated and things occurred. He doesn't know I cheated yet. And I don't want him to find out, because if he does, I'm absolutely doomed. I messed up again. Because I became frustrated 2 weeks ago and decided to contact my best buddy and just rant about how frustrated I was and how tired I was of my marriage. I assumed Michael had left for work. But as I turned around, I was taken aback by his presence in the doorway. I became quite afraid and didn't know what to do, so I just remained silent. What made me more nervous was the fact that I knew how many negative things I had said my best friend. I told her I was bored of the marriage and didn't want to continue pretending. Our chat was easygoing because I was certain that my spouse wasn't at home. I also told her that I regretted marrying him right after graduation and felt imprisoned in the marriage. After I finished the call and turned around, I couldn't even open my mouth to talk. I was caught red-handed and had no choice but to remain silent. Michael was so agitated that his veins were visible on his face. I've never seen him that angry. I can't believe he got upset about something so minor. What if he discovers I cheated on him twice? I'm terrified since I'm not sure what to expect and I do not want to lose him. That day, we had a long dispute and he said many terrible things to me. I assumed that would be the end of it, but I just learned yesterday that he has already filed for divorce. I assumed he'd cool off after a few days, but the fact that he is still upset baffles me. I need assistance since I know this is simply the calm before the storm. He'd be astonished to learn about what else I'd done. I am tired of my marriage, but I do not want to lose him. I will suffer if I divorce him. I'm unemployed and have nothing to fall back on. My parents would not accept me if I got divorced after a year of marriage. I can't take the embarrassment and I don't want the stigma. When I said I needed space, I simply wanted to have some fun, and that is all. I never pictured getting divorced. I'm tired of my marriage, but I can't leave because of my finances. I don't love him anymore, yet I can't abandon him. I am willing to stay married as long as I do not have to endure the humiliation and stigma associated with divorce. Please help me. Update 1. I've been called so many offensive names that I've actually lost track. Most of you pass judgment on me as if you know me personally. I requested for aid, not a criticism. But I suppose by putting something on here, people immediately have the freedom to express their ideas whenever they choose. I was able to devise a strategy thanks to the individuals who provided me with advice. I decided to win my spouse back, even though it sounds ridiculous. I'm ashamed to type this. I'm attempting to win back my hubby. It seems pathetic. But I'm willing to be pathetic if it means saving my marriage. First and foremost, I attempted to persuade Michael to reconsider his decision. I told him a bunch of stories and I tried to explain that I was just talking trash because I was irritated. But Michael refused to listen to me instead of forgiving me like I had hoped. He issued me an ultimatum, saying he wanted me out of the house as quickly as possible. My greatest fear was realized when I heard him say those things to me. I lost it totally. I don't want to wind up homeless or broke. So I became desperate. I tried every trick in the book to finally get him to forgive me. But it felt like I irritated him even more. The divorce papers arrived yesterday and he signed them promptly before handing them over to me. Yes, he signed them the moment he received them. I collapsed to my knees and burst into tears, but Michael dismissed me like I was trash. After hearing me admit I regretted marrying him. He does not allow me to sleep in our bedroom. And he has ceased purchasing groceries and other household necessities. He doesn't even speak to me. I know the only reason he's keeping me in the house is to get an advantage in court. He wants our divorce to be finalized first so that he would not have to pay a large sum of money in spousal support if I become homeless. He knows I am broke and have nowhere to go, which could work against him in court. But even if I receive a large settlement from the divorce, I know it will not last long. Without a steady employment, I'll still be broke. I'm quite irritated right now. And I regret making that phone call that day. I became so desperate that I nearly burned the divorce papers, but I knew it would be a terrible decision. I'm desperate. There's a lot going in. My parents are extremely concerned since Michael has blocked them. Yes, he blocked everyone connected to me. He even blocked me, his wife. I know he's going to send me out shortly. I can't let that happen. I can't lose my marriage. I didn't have any structure before being married, and I can't get divorced without it either. I just wanted to have some harmless fun. I did not expect it to bite me back. I tried everything, including getting into bed with Michael, but all I got was embarrassment and ridicule. He has made it quite plain that he does not want to see me. Now all I want to do is win him back by being the perfect housewife. I'm not sure whether that's a good idea, but I don't have a choice. I'm keeping this marriage even if it means my pride suffers. In the end, I'm confident that it will be simpler to reclaim him because he is unaware of my infidelity. I need to act quickly because I only have a limited amount of time to delay signing the paperwork. I can't wait forever, and I can't ignore the divorce papers. Time is not on my side. But I do hope that the universe is also updated. I am a fool, guys. I am a fool, and the cosmos is definitely not on my side. If anything, I've realized that the cosmos is working against me. At this moment. I don't know what I did, bro. You deserve this kind of horrible luck. Well, I've made 1 or 2 blunders, but this is simply too much. I never anticipated things to get so out of hand. My life was difficult previously. It's simply gotten 10 times harder. I did everything I could to keep the truth from him. But guess what, man? My best was not enough. Much has happened, and I don't know where to begin. You remember when I said I cheated on him? Right? That's true. About 2 months ago, I cheated with a guy I met at the club. I recognized him as an old buddy of mine. After a few secret dates, we hooked up twice. It was first my technique of letting go and getting out of the marriage bubble. I just wanted to see what would happen if I let loose a little. I understood it was a huge mistake. I felt Liam, the guy I hooked up with, would be ideal for that because he didn't live in Canada. He merely came to see his family before returning. He took a 1-month trip and returned approximately a month ago. I forgot about him and assumed I'd never see him again. It was nothing emotional. All I wanted was to feel the excitement of flirting and having a casual relationship. That's why it hurts me so much right now to realize that, despite everything, I wasn't careful, even though I blocked Liam right away. He departed for Florida and hasn't tried to find me since. But he called me 5 days ago. Yes, I received a call from the same guy with whom I had cheated on my husband. I wanted to smash my phone when I discovered he was the one who had called. Of course, he used a different phone number because I had previously blocked him on the other line. I assumed it was someone else phoning, but he was the one. And he called to tell me that he was already in Canada and would like to meet me again. Of course, I blocked him right away because I had no reason to keep talking to him. I'm trying to win blackmail, so I don't want to get involved in anything that would compromise my prospects. It was already difficult, and Michael had been causing me problems. I have a lot to say about Michael, too. Where do I even start? It's just so much drama that I want to run away and never return. But I can't. Why? Because I am broke and helpless. This event has taught me the value of owning my own money as a woman. Now I told you that I wanted to win. Michael is back, right? Even though it appeared to be an insurmountable task, I set aside the divorce papers and resolved to devote time to demonstrating to him that I was capable of change. Of course, he remains oblivious that I cheated. All he knows right now is that I trashed him and declared that I was bored of the marriage. So PhD could think I became frustrated. So I began taking care of the house and finding a good woman. Despite the fact that he refused to glance my way and rarely came home at night. Michael and I rarely see each other these days, and we haven't met since he transferred my belongings to the guest room. He has severed all links with me despite the fact that we are residing in the sand hut together. He doesn't eat what I cook. I occasionally start crying in front of him to catch his attention, but he doesn't care. He's so callous and whatnot it upsets me. He does not glance at me twice. When I apologize repeatedly, and I am beginning to believe that he knows more than he should. And that is why he is so upset with me. What if he discovers that I cheated on him? No, I do not want this to happen at all. That would imply that we are actually planning to divorce. I know Michael, and I am certain that he will never forgive me for cheating. Michael isn't that type of man, and I won't offer him any excuses. That will never validate my motive for cheating on him. That is why I am so angry right now. Why have I had such awful luck? Why has Liam now decided to return? I'm at a loss for what to do, and I don't believe Liam's unexpected return will help me. He's been calling me with several phone numbers. And I finally had to turn off my phone. I'm actually writing this on my laptop since I can't afford to turn on my phone. I don't want anything to do with Liam. I am done with him. And there is no way I will accept him back into my life. But he keeps phoning, and that scares me. What should I do, guys? I know you're probably sick of me and my constant problems, but please, help me. I'm in the midst of a likely divorce, and my former affair partner is attempting to make a comeback. This cannot be good, since even though my marriage is hanging by a thread right now, Liam's presence will cement the deal and ruin it. Now he's not good news. Therefore, I need guidance on what to do. He is aware that I am married. Therefore, I am concerned that he will try something stupid. Please help me, gentlemen. I understand you don't like me. But please assist me. I shouldn't have cheated, but I was sick of being a 24-year-old girl who appeared to be stuck. Help me. Update 3. I used to think, can things get any worse than they already are? Well, I got my replies, and they're not very nice. This may or may not be the final update to this post. I am not sure yet. I'm not sure whether I can be more wrecked than this. I told you I sought to postpone the divorce process. Right. Well, I did not lie. I made a number of excuses, despite the fact that I knew it wasn't lawful for me to delay things for an extended period of time. It was hazardous. But I thought I was being wise. It turns out I am the greatest moron in the room right now. Michael did not sit back and watch me try to postpone the divorce. He bothered me so badly that I grew tired of everything. He agitated and intimidated me, telling me that I had no choice but to sign the papers or we would have to go to court over a variety of issues. I assumed they were empty threats. Well, now I know he wasn't joking when I first learned Michael had filed for divorce. I was quite devastated. But a part of me felt that with time, I would be able to win him back. Guy, I just realized I was a fool for doing that. Michael overheard my discussion with my best friend and was aware of all I said about him and our marriage. He heard the insults I left because of him and the way I spoke negatively about our union. Despite the fact that I caught him listening in on our conversation that day. I never dreamed he'd stayed long enough to learn so much. He overheard all I said to my best friend and made it apparent to me, a more recent argument we had. I became upset and frustrated and tried to persuade him to stop overreacting, but I ended up embarrassing myself and talking down to Michael, who actually recorded everything I said that day. Yes, he taped my rant but kept it to himself. I was unaware. And it had never occurred to me that he would do so. So it was pretty surprising when he played the voice tape during one of our disputes. I was so shocked that I didn't dare to speak. What do I even say? I knew there was nothing I could say to make him forget what he'd heard. Michael became the epitome of what an alpha can create, and he made it clear to me that he couldn't stay with a woman who had few to no principles and could accept negative feedback about her marriage and spouse. According to him, he recognized I was unworthy of marriage since I disrespected him and he couldn't trust a woman like me. I don't remember all I said that day. But I do recall implying that I had a wild night at a club, which was also captured on the phone recording. Michael played for me. Even though everything that transpired that day left me chilly and scared, nothing troubled me more than Michael hearing me say I had a crazy night at the club, despite the fact that that was all I said and I didn't provide any further information. I was aware that Michael might have interpreted what I said, but I chose to disregard it. At the end of the day, it came back to confront me. So despite the fact that I unblocked him and gave him a lengthy message advising him to stay away, Liam continued to try to contact me and decided to end my marriage. Can you really believe Liam told Michael everything? Yes. He did this to me. He betrayed me. I am not sure what he was thinking or why he believed that was the best thing to do, but I hope his karma catches up to him. He damaged my marriage and trampled on all of the changes I attempted to make. I was anxious and fatigued, but I kept pushing and attempting to save my marriage, but thanks to Liam, all of my efforts have been in naught. And now I'm going through a divorce as a result of his carelessness and caustic personality. He couldn't take the rejection, so he decided to do something stupid instead as a way to repay me. If you're wondering how Liam was able to meet Michael and converse with him, let me explain. On one of our secret date nights together, I became too drunk to drive myself home, so he offered to drive me there. I let him in since I was concerned for my safety and didn't want to come home alone. So that's how Liam learned my home address. Michael abruptly stopped being aggressive and began paying attention to me. I honestly believed that I was finally succeeding and that he would forgive me at the end of the day. Those were the feelings I had when I foolishly attempted to claw my way back into his life, only to face public humiliation. That man is obviously brutal and nasty. And I can't believe that the man I fought so hard to maintain could do that to me. He duped me and forced me to lower my guard just so he could get the last laugh. And humiliate me in front of my own family. If he wants nothing to do with me and wants to grasp my hand, I should do it without trampling on it and making me feel defeated. Michael is aware of how much I respect my parents and avoid making them angry. That's why he chose to invite them over to the house and play the audio recordings of me and Liam. He did something I'll never forget, and it demonstrates how terrible he is. He stopped too low when he led me in. He should not have made me look foolish in front of my own family. He told me he had invited my family over, so I prepared some dishes and set the dinner table. But at the conclusion of the day, he played the voice recording of me talking to my closest buddy, as well as the voice recording of Liam telling him that I had hooked up with him 2 times. Michael didn't need to investigate since he had proof in the form of a recording of me speaking to my best buddy, in which I plainly said that I had a crazy club night. My parents were embarrassed and unhappy, and after telling me how sorry they were, they left the house. Michael kicked me out of the house that Saturday, right after I signed the divorce papers. I had nowhere to go, and I couldn't even consider visiting my parents since I knew they'd never accept me inside their house. I spent exactly 3 hours in the freezing night before being picked up by my best friend at Michael's front gate. He never opened the door. When, after I knocked a few times, I couldn't believe Liam came to the house while I was away and informed Michael that he had hooked up with me. He's the epitome of a coward, and I know his punishment is coming. I may have made some enormous mistakes. I don't think I deserved what I received. I don't think I ate because I was tired of my marriage. I'm a 24-year-old lady who married at 23 after dating the same man since I was 20. I was suffocated, and my marriage was not as good as I had hoped. So I panicked out and made the incorrect decisions. Do I regret it? Yes, I regret cheating. However, I do not regret how I felt about the marriage. If I had my own money, I would have left him long ago. I didn't expect Michael to be so rude. I'm not sure if it was his ego, but he was way too nasty, and I'm quite disappointed. Including my relatives was unnecessary. But in the end of the day, I guess he did win, because I am currently jobless and my parents do not want to visit me. I'm also in the middle of a divorce, and I'm not sure if I'll obtain adequate spousal support. Overall, it's been a wild ride, and I still can't believe that a one phone call with my best friend exposed all of my innermost secrets, shattered my marriage, and left me bankrupt and divorced. Take care out there, fellas. You never really know who is listening. I've learned it the hard way. Imagine a young girl with short hair and an ordinary face, growing up in a typical family. My family was not wealthy, but they did their best to care for me. I was bullied as a child, therefore I was more of a loner than most. I did not have many pals. Not until my brother came along. His name is Liam. He was my best friend and still is. I was 5 years old when I took his small body in my hands. He virtually followed me everywhere. He didn't want me to go to college. He cried. I shouldn't have gone, but I can't undo what happened. And I know that as time passed, I became more of an extrovert and was able to communicate with others more effectively. A lot has transpired since then. I was also able to advocate for myself. I'm married now and my life was going well, not until my ex-boyfriend Alex entered the picture. Liam didn't like Alex much, but I believe it was a male thing. You're probably asking why I'm telling you all of this and you don't understand. So I'll start from the beginning. My name is Emily and I'd like to tell you a story. I am not a writer, thus. Please excuse any errors. Nonetheless, I will ensure that you comprehend what I am saying. This is my tale and I need everyone's help because I'm not sure what to do. I'll start with the beginning of my married life. I met Stan when I was 21. We had both graduated from university and we had hit it off ever since. I gave him the cold shoulder at first. He never gave up on me, but he acted differently than Alex. Not that I'm comparing. He's a very nice and compassionate guy. We dated for over a year and he introduced me to his family. I loved his family and they loved me back. It was fantastic. Stan proposed and I said yes. The marriage proceeded smoothly. We had a small wedding in a small church and invited only a few friends and family members. I didn't want something enormous because I dislike being in crowds and he understood. I remember telling him the language I use. To be honest, I was nervous about getting married because I didn't want it to hold me back, but I eventually mustered the bravery. We've been married for a year and a problem arose. The first is that I have been unable to conceive. For unknown reasons. Okay, maybe I see why, but we're working on it. The doctor told me I don't have enough eggs to fertilize and I'm not sure what that means. It's particularly sad because his family, as well as mine, started pestering me when we announced we were having a baby. I'm not sure how to tell them we're trying, but I know it'll be soon. If nothing works, we have no choice except to speak up. I'd add the other difficulties as I continued writing. My husband Stan and I live in this 3-bedroom condo that he purchased. And I'm really proud of him. He also has this job to do. I can't disclose where. But all I know is that he's a lawyer from a really ordinary family. I'd say this is a massive job and I can't stop bragging about it to my pals. I also have a teaching job. I teach kindergarten students. And I must say that it's a lot of fun. I really want kids of my own, and we're still trying to figure it out. Imagine a Wednesday evening when the sun is shining since it is summer. My buddies came over that evening for our small book club. I enjoy reading books. And I've met people who do too. There are 3 of them present. Ella. She is the group's nerdist. And is a lot of fun to be around. Tracy is also the most attractive member of the group, according to the other pals. Finally, there's Anna. She is the clown of the group because she makes everyone laugh. You might say that I'm somewhere in the middle of everything. And I adore myself for it. It was my day off from work because I was a part-time teacher. I only work on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, so Wednesdays and Thursdays were my days off during the week. Stan was at work that day while I was having fun with my buddies. We talked about a number of stuff. They told me it was already late, so I escorted them out. I noticed my phone vibrate and wondered who might be calling me right now. I didn't hear it vibrating anymore, so I assumed it was an SMS. I don't get SMS except for work-related emails. So this was shocking. I verified, and it was from an unknown number. I was extremely curious now. I opened the message and was shocked. The message came from my ex, Alex, whom I hadn't heard from in over a year. He didn't even attend my wedding. Not that I expected him to. I knew it was him from the text he sent. Hey Jim, this is Alex. I'm not sure whether you still remember me, but please contact me if you do. You could be thinking, Alex, I know many people, or perhaps you are not. But the point is, he's the only one that calls me. I was wondering how he got my phone number as I didn't believe he'd have it with him. And before I could think about contacting him, my phone crashed. There's another story about that. I met Alex while I was in college. I was a freshman. He was a sophomore. He was a proud person who I disliked at first. He assumed everyone was in love with him because he was such a handsome guy. And I did not like it because he was correct. And the majority of my friends developed feelings for him and pursued him. I did my best to ignore him every time, but for unknown reasons. He kept attempting to get close to me. I noticed this at first, but tried to ignore it. Perhaps I was simply overthinking things. I figured it out when he approached me in person and tried to start a conversation with me. But I just walked away. I didn't want to draw attention to myself, so I planned to be very low-key, but he was trying to make it worse for me. He approached me again, and I expressed my feelings to him. I questioned him why he was attempting to talk to him when there were obviously other girls who wanted him. And he just scoffed. He said he didn't care about others and has been monitoring me from a distance. I chuckled because it was creepy, but I did not believe him. He tried to get closer to me every time, talking to me, strolling with me, and even telling everyone that I was his best buddy. Every day, it appeared that the girls around me despised me, while my buddies expressed jealousy. A month had passed when Alex asked me out. I initially declined, but he persisted. He informed me that he liked me and wanted to date me. I didn't believe him since boys are untrustworthy, especially not in college yet. Alex refused to let up, and he continued to try to go out with me, but I said no. There came a day when I finally said yes and agreed to go out with him. He seemed quite happy about it, which made me smile as well. I asked where we were going, and he replied he'd come pick me up at home. He knew where I lived because he walked home with me occasionally. I notified my parents about the date, and they grinned. I was 18, therefore they said I could go on the date with him. I went to great lengths to make myself appear particularly attractive to him. I didn't like him entirely, but I think I felt something for him. He walked over and was taken aback when he saw my short hair let down, despite the fact that I typically packed it up for school. His eyes also examined the blue dress I was wearing. I hoped this wasn't too much. I also scanned him and thought he looked great in the black suit he wore. At first, I thought my clothing wasn't excessive. Now, I was thinking that I didn't dress well. He greeted my parents, who inspected him before letting us leave. We chuckled because his voice remained wobbly throughout. I apologized for the strain they were placing on him. Liam was also present, but he only glared at him, and it was amusing because it made Alex uneasy. We got to his car, and he opened the door for me like a gentleman. That really made me happy. He also congratulated me, which surprised me. He had previously complimented me, but not with the same sincerity. Alex took me to a fine restaurant, which was my first experience there. Coming from an average background, I assumed that dating took place at burger or pizza joints. That night, Alex and I talked about a number of things. I learned things about him. He informed me he was an artist, and I was astounded. Except for one close buddy, no one knew, and he trusted them not to tell anyone. What startled me the most was Alex's unusual pastime. We ordered lunch, and it was both sophisticated and tasty. I asked Alex to show me his art, and he took out his phone and showed me some photos he took. I recall one that showed a tiny girl clutching a flower, which I had never seen before. It was an unusual drawing, and he was talented. I also informed him about myself, my family, and where I am from. I asked him when he began like me, and he claimed it just happened. My first kiss was with him, and it was a wonderful recollection. We didn't realize how quickly the night passed. I wished I could have spent more time with him. So I was disappointed that the night ended so fast. He drove me home, and I informed him that the next day was almost like any other day, except this time I accepted Alex and let everyone know we were dating. This continued for nearly a year before things changed. He said he wanted to chat to me. I was afraid because of the tone with which he spoke. I was thinking that if he was fed up with me and wanted to end the relationship, I would not be surprised. However, what he told me was different. He stated that he intended to travel outside of the country to further his artistic studies. That was fantastic for me, since I recall asking him if he had any plans because he was so good at it. I knew there was more to the way he looked at me, and I was afraid I knew what It was. He informed me that he was unable to maintain a long-distance relationship. I recall asking him not to. We could work on it. I also remember telling him that I really liked him and wanted to do something with him, but he continued rejecting me and saying he couldn't work out. We kept our distance then, and I was furious. I was angry at him, but more at myself for wanting someone and not getting it. He tried to chat to me occasionally, but I didn't want to hear anything from him. He departed the country a few days later without even saying goodbye. I was angry because he had my phone number but couldn't call. I also had his phone number, but I was too proud to text or call him first. Around that time, my phone was destroyed, and I lost all of my contacts. I didn't expect to hear from Alex. Well, not until now. I was still looking at the message, unsure if I should respond or not. I followed my instincts and answered to him. I was hesitant and walked about, wondering whether he would reply back. I was thinking that maybe he texted me by accident and my dumb head replied to him, which was obviously a joke. My phone vibrated after a few minutes, and I quickly checked it. His message read, "Hey, it's been a long time. I know it seems strange that I was expecting his SMS, but it didn't signify anything. I was just thrilled I meant anything to him. He still remembered me. I should have stopped messaging him at that point, but I had a strong need to speak with him, so that's how it began. We texted back and forth every day. Alex informed me about many things. It was all communicated by text. But I know we shared a lot of emotions. He told me about his successful art studies. He asked me questions about what I was doing and my career. I debated whether to lie at first, but I couldn't because I loved my spouse. I told Alex I was married, and he did not respond. I was considering whether it was a horrible idea. But my opinion changed when he texted me back. He said it was wonderful that I was married and hoped I was pleased. When I read that, it didn't seem sincere to me, so I left it at that. It's been a week since we spoke, and everything was going well. He asked me where I was currently staying since he wanted to pay me a visit. I was against it, but it didn't seem so horrible. Because it was only an old acquaintance and ex. There was only one problem. Stan didn't know. I wasn't sure if I should tell him because it was about my ex, and he knew everything about our past. I was looking for something to excuse my actions. I tried to convince myself that messaging an ex is not wrong. Alex and I kept texting, discussing life, and sharing more information. I made a mistake one day. I still didn't see the need in informing my husband about him since it was just Alex and myself. I was conversing with Alex one day when Stan questioned why I was usually on the phone. He knew I didn't text often, so it seemed strange to him. I'm not sure why I lied and told him it was nobody. I left my phone for a second to go take out the garbage. And when I returned, I spotted it in his palm. I'm not sure why I became irritated. I believe one of the reasons was that I was curious why my phone was in his grasp. It meant he did not trust me. I was also angry with myself because I knew I had to tell him the truth. He glanced at me. So I questioned what he was doing with my phone. He stated he received a call but had a question for me. Who was Alex? He knew about my ex, Alex, but he wanted to be sure it was him. I questioned him why he was looking at my texts, and he didn't respond. Can you believe it? He continued asking questions, and I told him the truth about my ex. He frowned and shouted, wondering why I was texting my ex. I told him it wasn't a big problem and he shouldn't make it sound so big. He exaggerated. I mean, texting your ex is normal, right? I also argued with him that he, not I, texted him first. It's just an old friend from the past. Stan, however, continued to overreact, claiming that he texted with a purpose. But I don't believe he told me not to text Alex. But I do not want to. Is this bad? Consider how he would react if I told him he wanted to visit. I don't want Alex to come between Stan and me. I got my phone from him and went for a walk. Stan continued asking me to come back since we were still talking. But I didn't want to keep this debate going. I needed to cleanse my mind. I have no idea what to do right now since I'm trapped. Should I continue texting with Alex? He didn't say he wanted to go out with me or anything. Even if he said it one day, it wouldn't be harmful because we were friends. Or should I stop texting him and instead listen to my husband? What if he genuinely has a purpose, as he stated? My head is all jumbled right now, so I need some guidance on what to do. Please assist. Comments 1. You are a Reddit user. 1. What is wrong with you? I mean that in the most ludicrous sense. Why would you prefer your ex over your own husband? Do you adore him? Yes. Something tells me you don't. It's preferable if you think carefully about it because he probably deserves someone better than you. Why did you keep this from him on the first page if you had nothing to conceal from yourself? Reddit user 2.3. You are Reddit user 1. This is a difficult circumstance. So try not to be too harsh on her. She came here for advice, so stop condemning her. Emily. I feel you should take some time to calm down and think about this. Your husband might be right. It is unusual for an ex-partner to text you simply to say hello. He also expresses a desire to visit. What normal person would want to see their married ex? You should have a serious conversation with Stan and tell him about everything, particularly your feelings. You two sound like you have a wonderful and unique marriage that shouldn't be ruined so easy. 3. You're Reddit user 3. Why isn't anyone talking about Alex? I only see conversations about Emily and her husband. Hello. There is literally an ex here. Who is the problem? I think Emily should contact Alex. You two have only communicated via text and you don't know anything about him. All you know is that he is in the city and wants to meet you. So instead of doing dumb things like withholding things from your husband, talk to him about them. So you two will be able to resolve this issue. I'll talk to Alex for you. Reddit user 4. Something tells me you are the problem. Women never appreciate wonderful things in front of them. Instead, they long for the good times of the past. You should fix this and not allow your marriage to be damaged. Update. I haven't argued with my hubby in days. I tried talking to him, but he claimed he wouldn't talk to me unless I did something about Alex. I also read the comments. Wow. There were some pretty unpleasant people, but I understood you were correct. I was the problem right now. I adore Stan. Even though Alex was no longer a part of my life, I still had feelings for him. But this was just because he suddenly wanted to return to my life. I chatted to my brother Liam. I said it in the beginning and I informed him that Alex had returned. He seemed irate on the phone and I told him what had happened. He stated Alex couldn't come back and try to pry into my life now that I was truly happy. As I spoke with my close pals, if you recall them from the book club, they also provided me some good advice just as you all did. And the purpose was to speak with my hubby. I urged him to talk with me. He finally agreed and inquired who I'd decided on. Was it him or Alex? I shook my head and grabbed his hands because the question was ridiculous now that I heard it. I can't believe I wanted to end my marriage because I had feelings for someone before. I apologized and Lee explained that I had repeatedly chosen Stan. And things have returned to normal. The only difficulty left was Alex. He kept contacting me, asking when we were going to meet, but I did my best to ignore him. You're wondering why I didn't block him, but I didn't want to come across too strong. However, that probably seems like an excuse. Alex began contacting me because he noticed, but I did not respond. The phone calls were increasingly directed towards Stan after I went to work one day and Alex called in on one of my days off. I responded after glancing at it for a few seconds and hearing his voice. It had been a long time since I heard his voice. It seemed deeper and different than the one I had previously heard. It had been 3 weeks since he texted me, and I was still hearing his voice. However, I no longer felt the emotion. That makes me glad, because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to feel linked to my ex while with my husband. Alex said hello over the phone and I answered. He replied, "My voice has changed," and I repeated it. He inquired why I wasn't texting him and why I was ignoring his calls. So I told him the truth. I informed him that Stan and I were not comfortable with it. I didn't bother going into any more detail because it was none of his business. I told him not to bother calling me again. He resisted at first, stating he didn't see anything wrong with a friend contacting another friend. I assured him he didn't have to see it. He only needed to know. I did inquire why. He unexpectedly texted me one day and revealed the truth. He said it because he missed me and everything he had. He expressed disappointment when I told him I was married. That made me uncomfortable in a manner, because was he expecting me to wait for him and accept him when he returned? I met Stan 3 years ago and he altered my life. I am happier with him now. Anyway, as I already stated, I told him it did not matter and that he should stop trying. He apologized to me and the call ended. When Stan returned, I told him everything we discussed and what had transpired. I promised him I would never let anything come between us because I adore him. I'm glad I got married. We also talked about going to the doctor for the pregnancy. In the event that nothing else succeeds, we may simply adopt. Thank you to everyone who gave me this advice and helped save my marriage. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, write a comment below with your thoughts on what transpired. Take care.